The heir to a Texas oil fortune has been ordered to pay a staggering $1.1 billion after a jury found him responsible for horrific actions involving a 2-year-old boy. Once you learn the details of what happened, it becomes clear why this case resulted in the largest child abuse verdict in U.S. history. I'm Kamar, and here's the breakdown. The incident dates back to April 2021, when a mother left her toddler son in the care of his stepfather, Charles Brooks Jr., while she went to work. It seemed like a completely normal arrangement, trusting someone close to look after her child, expecting everything to be fine when she returned.
Instead, hours later, Charles calls her and says the child is non-responsive, which is already one of those phrases that immediately sets off alarm bells, because that's not how people describe a toddler unless something is very, very wrong. So what does he say happened? Because, of course, there's a story. There's always a story. So he says the child fell off a kitchen table, which, okay, kids fall, but when he puts the boy on a video call with her, she sees this is more than a simple fall. The boy is barely breathing. So she tells her husband, call 911 now. But he refuses. Instead, he tells her the child will sleep it off, says he's already tried to revive him, even claims he put him in an ice bath. At that point, she realizes this is not being handled. This is getting worse. So she stops asking and she calls 911 herself. And when first responders get there, they don't find a kid who fell off a table. They find a child who has been brutally beaten with bite marks on his legs. He's rushed to the hospital, and from that moment on, his life is never the same. Because he survives, but just barely.
He is now expected to require lifelong care due to the severity of his condition. What made this case gain so much attention wasn't just what happened, but who was involved. Charles Brooks Jr. is not an ordinary individual. He comes from a wealthy Texas oil and gas family with significant generational fortune. His surname alone carries influence and recognition before he even enters a room. In the immediate aftermath of the incident, Charles began providing multiple explanations of what occurred, and those accounts kept shifting over time.
According to court documents, at one point he says the child fell off a table, then it's down the stairs, then even suggests a car accident. But pretty quickly it all starts to fall apart, because the injuries, they don't match an accident. We're talking about a child with injuries so extensive that doctors later documented a traumatic brain injury, bleeding in both eyes, respiratory failure, seizures, and even bite marks on his body. Now he's confined to a wheelchair. He needs a machine to breathe. That's his life now. And in the criminal case in 2023, Charles Brooks Jr. pleads guilty to first-degree felony injury to a child, and he's sentenced to 40 years in prison. But even that, even a 40-year sentence, isn't what brings us here. The boy's parents, his now ex-wife and the biological father, file a lawsuit on behalf of their son. And when it goes to trial, the jury hears everything. The injuries, the medical care, the reality of what he's going to need, not just now, but for decades. A lifetime of medical care, therapy, supervision, things most people never have to think about. But for him, this is every single day. So when the jury comes back with a number, it takes that all into account. $1.1 billion, one of the largest verdicts ever awarded in a child abuse case in the United States. And yeah, 1.1 billion sounds almost unreal, like one of those numbers where you immediately go, okay, but that's symbolic, right? And the answer is kind of, because legally, if the verdict holds, there's a strong chance it gets reduced on appeal.
That's actually quite common in cases like this. On top of that, there's the separate challenge of actually collecting the money, which can turn into an entirely different legal battle, especially when dealing with family wealth, trusts, and assets that aren't simply sitting in a bank account ready to be withdrawn. So in reality, this isn't about someone writing $1 billion check overnight. As the family's attorney, Tony Busby, pointed out, "We say we value children in this country." And according to him, this jury backed that statement with its decision.